Chapter 149. Young Master. Just as Wang Chong was deep in thought, footsteps sounded behind him. Xianxia, dressed in an embroidered robe, walked out of the darkness. I've checked, and there aren't any strange old men in the area. There isn't anyone else in this room either, Xianxia said. Behind him were a few guards of the Wang clan. This operation was split into two groups. One group was led by Wang Chong while the other group was led by Xianxia. Even though the route was different, Xianxia still managed to find his way here. It seems like the evil emperor hasn't appeared yet. Recovering from his daze, Wang Chong raised his head to look at the stars in the sky with a contemplative look in his eyes. Wang Chong thought that he would be late for this operation. The worst-case scenario would be that the evil emperor had found Zhou Wen. But from the looks of it now, it seemed like he had only discovered some useful clues now. However, the matter that he had in mind probably hadn't happened yet. In other words, he still had a chance. Follow him for the next few days. Find out where he's been operating. Get all of the guards of the Wang clan here. Also, inform Wei how that will be borrowing the strength of the Wei clan. Wang Chong said, "But, if the guards in the mansion are transferred, what should we do if the previous assassination happens again?" Xianxia said with a frown. He begged to differ. If not for our Loja, Ablonidon, and Tuoba Giyuan, the assassins might have already taken advantage of the situation. Besides, there was a madam in the residence. If something were to happen to the madam while the guards were to be mobilized, it would be disastrous. Don't worry, I've already informed Mayasame Ayaka to come over. Wang Chong faintly smiled. Once the assassin pavilion was destroyed, there wouldn't be anything that could threaten the Wang clan anymore. Besides, he still had Li Zhuxin with him. When the time came, he could just leave Li Zhuxin in the residence. One in the open while the other in the dark. Adding on Arloja, Ablonidon, and Tuoba Giyuan, even though there were only 5 of them, their strength was enough to trap the entire Wang clan. This was not a place where just anyone could barge in and cause trouble. Right? Did you manage to find out anything about that Mozaid? Wang Chong said. No. Xianxia shook his head. However, our men have asked the Carex Spazinu merchants through Big Golden Tooth. There was no one called Mozaid among them. However, there is a person called Suleiman who is very similar to the person we described. Suleiman? Wang Chong's eyebrows twitched. You said his name is Suleiman? Yes. Young Master. However, I heard that he left the capital more than a month ago and returned to Carex Spazinu. Xianxia said, thinking that Wang Chong hadn't heard him clearly. The night was quiet. Wang Chong looked up at the sky, a strange expression on his face. There was an indescribable feeling in his heart. Without a doubt, the assassination that night was carried out by the Carex Spazinu merchant, Mozaid. Wang Chong wasn't sure what kind of person Mozaid was, but Sulan. If he didn't remember wrongly in his previous life, this fellow was the one who brought Wuxia steel weapons to the Central Plains and sold them for an astronomical price. Currently, the Hyderabad ores had just been excavated from the mountain range. Carex Spazinu and the Abbasid Caliphate probably hadn't forged true Wuxia steel weapons yet. It wasn't the right time for Suleiman to come to the Central Plains. Not only did he not sell his weapons, he even participated in the Blue Bottle Pavilion auction that he organized. A person who would bring Wuxia steel weapons to the Central Plains in the future actually came to the Central Plains to buy his Wuxia steel swords. In fact, for this, he even sent assassins to steal and assassinate the swords. The mysteries of fate were truly unfathomable. Consider yourself lucky to have escaped. Wang Chong thought. Suleiman didn't have any good intentions. He wanted to sell the Wuxia steel swords to the Central Plains to strengthen the Central Plains. Wang Chong knew that selling the swords was just a pretense, and it would be exposed in the future. This fellow actually had another mission, and that was to gather intelligence and spy on the Central Plains. In the future war between the Abbasid Caliphate and the Tang dynasty, this person's intelligence had contributed greatly. However, this fellow was simply too cunning. Even Wang Chong didn't expect him to do so. Long before he started selling the Wuxia steel weapons, he had already infiltrated the Tang dynasty, and he even went by the alias of Mozaid. Wang Chong was a profligate scion in his previous life. He had only heard of this Suleiman, but he had never met him in person. Furthermore, this fellow was extremely vigilant. The moment he failed, he would immediately flee 1,000 li away, not giving him a chance at all. It wasn't without reason that this fellow would become the head of the Abbasid Caliphate and Karak's Spazinu in the future. The next time I see you, it will be the day you die in the Central Plains. A cold glint flashed across Wang Chong's eyes, and he quickly tossed this matter to the back of his mind. Dealing with Suleiman was a matter for the future. At the moment, the evil emperor was of utmost importance. In Wang Chong's plan, the great yin-yang heaven creation art was an extremely important part. Without this unparalleled technique, it would be hard for him to reach the level he had reached in his previous life in just a few short years. Without Tao Tian's cultivation and peerless martial arts, it would be very difficult for him to have the ability to control the situation in the future, to intervene in it, to change the world, and to change fate. Thus, to Wang Chong, the great yin-yang heaven creation art was a must. Only by obtaining the great yin-yang heaven creation art and Elder Su Xianxia's art of God and demon obliteration would he be able to swiftly squeeze his way into the ranks of the top-notch experts of the world, with the two of them complementing each other, such as strength and technique. These two techniques were the most crucial and important parts of Wang Chong's plan after his reincarnation. Only with the support of the great yin-yang heaven creation art, the art of God and demon obliteration, would it be able to display its unstoppable might. On the other hand, the great yin-yang heaven creation art could only be paired with the art of God and demon obliteration to display its terrifying might. It was extremely difficult to obtain these two techniques at the same time. In his previous life, no one had ever succeeded. To most people, this was an insane feat that they didn't even dare to dream of. However, Wang Chong knew that there was a possibility of such a thing happening. Furthermore, this was the only way he could break through his shackles and accomplish what he failed to do in his previous life, completing the mission he carried. In the future, he would save the world from the great calamity that would engulf the world. Xianxia, there's something else I need you to do. Wang Chong said. Young master, please ask. Xianxia said without hesitation. Tell Wei how to discuss this with the Zhou Ji's family head. No matter what methods he uses, he must poach Zhou Wen into his family. Find him a well-paid job, cure his old mother, and send a few guards to protect him in secret. Let him live a peaceful life. Wang Chong said. In the end, Zhou Wen was still a mystery, and he was somehow connected to the demonic emperor old man. If he didn't get rid of Zhou Wen, no matter how many guards he sent, no matter how much he tried to stop him, there was still a chance that Zhou Wen would be able to save the evil emperor. Then the tragedy from his previous life would repeat itself. The evil emperor had passed on his martial prowess and the great yin-yang heaven creation art to him. Zhou Wen had saved the evil emperor, but his mother had been killed, and he had once again stepped into the murderous martial world that he disliked. In the end, Zhou Wen would once again fall into the tragedy of his previous life because of his gentleness, mediocre aptitude, and mediocre combat experience and skills. Some fortuitous encounters were fortuitous encounters for some, but for others, they were tragedies. Zhou Wen wasn't suited for the great yin-yang heaven creation art, and he couldn't control him. Only in his hands could it be used to its fullest potential. Zhou Wen would be able to fulfill his wish. He would be able to lead a peaceful life with his mother, and he wouldn't have to kill people that he disliked. And he could use the great yin-yang heaven creation art to complete his unfinished mission. This was the best arrangement. Xianxia was puzzled. It was understandable that he wanted to help Zhou Wen. After all, he was a filial son. But what was the meaning of sending 2 guards to protect him in secret? What did this Zhou Wen have that was worthy of young master's attention? Xianxia was getting more and more confused. But even so, Xianxia's reply was very straightforward. Yes, young master. This subordinate will do it right away. Without another word, Xianxia turned and left without the slightest hesitation. After arranging all this, Wang Chong didn't alert anyone. He entered the carriage and quietly left. Patriarch, this is the last piece of high-quality iron ore that our Zhang family has. All that's left is inferior ore. And in at most 3 months, our Zhang family's last or vein will be completely excavated. When Wang Chong left the eastern part of the city, a group of Zhang family elders were sitting in a circle in the Zhang family residence, their faces full of worry. In front of them was the last piece of first-grade ore from the ore vein. This piece of ore also represented the Zhang family's current predicament. The ore vein had been excavated, and the weapons business was being suppressed by the Qing, Lu, Huang, and other clans. The once glorious Zhang family was now about to suppress the other clans to the point of no return. If the Zhang family wanted to break out of this predicament, they had to find a new large ore vein. But how could this be easy? Currently, all the ore veins in the Tang dynasty had been explored, and the other large ore veins were already in the hands of other clans. The Zhang family had also thought of excavating a new large ore vein, but this was easier said than done. Ore veins weren't rocks that were exposed on the surface, but hidden in the depths of the earth. To accurately find a new large ore vein in the vast central plains was no different from searching for a needle in a haystack. Furthermore, they didn't know if there were any new ore veins. After all, after so many years, all the places that could be explored had already been explored. Chapter 150. Clan Head, I think that we should negotiate with that Wang clan's Chonggongzi. Even if we don't earn any money, we can still hire him to work with us. The reputation of Wuxia steel is currently at its peak. If our Zhang clan were to successfully obtain Wuxia steel, we would surely be able to suppress the other clans. As for the matter regarding the mine, we don't have to worry about our clan's market share being squeezed out by the Qing, Huang, and Lu clans. An elder of the Zhang clan said, to the prestigious clans, a high-quality mine wasn't as simple as earning money. Rather, it was their lifeline. If they were to lose an advantageous mine, their market share would surely fall. The other clans wouldn't let go of such an opportunity. Once their market share fell, it would be difficult for them to recover. The competition between the prestigious swordsmithing clans was for market share. More importantly, this matter would lead to a chain reaction. Once their market share fell, the swordsmiths in the clan would have nothing to do and would leave the clan to join other clans. Once such a situation occurred, the clan would truly fall into decline. Even if the clan still had a large amount of money, it would be useless. Money flowed like water, and without sufficient income, the wealth of the clan would dissipate quickly. The Zhang clan was the oldest swordsmithing clan, and they had experienced such danger before. Thus, they were extremely familiar with it and fearful of it. No one wanted to experience such danger once more. This was also the reason why everyone was gathered here. The danger had already reached an extremely severe level, and it would erupt within 3 months at the latest. Before that, they had to think of a solution. It's useless. Before the sword sale at the Blue Bottle Pavilion, we might still have a chance. But now, you should know that his sword was sold for an astronomical price of 300,000 gold taels in the Imperial Army. How could he possibly give up such a huge profit? Another rotund elder said. His words left everyone speechless. Wuxia steel had already become a legend in the Central Plains. Given the market price of a sword, Wang Chang's sword was sold for 300,000 gold taels. To these prestigious clans, this was an unimaginable feat. Just the thought of it made everyone feel immense pressure. Before selling his swords at the Blue Bottle Pavilion, Wang Chong was just a nameless figure to them. Every single one of them here could be his ancestor in the field of smithing. But now, that 15-year-old boy had become an existence that they could only look up to. His Wuxia steel and his swordsmithing skills had become an enigma in the eyes of the public. Actually, it's not entirely impossible. Suddenly, a voice sounded. Zhang Jian suddenly opened his mouth, attracting everyone's attention. Zhang Jian? What are you trying to say? Everyone looked at Zhang Jian. Speaking of the third son of the Wang clan, Zhang Jian and Zhang Tsong were the first to come into contact with him, so they had the most say in this matter. Have you forgotten? Up until now, we haven't heard anything about his iron forge, nor have we heard who he's working with. Although his Wuxia steel is sold at a sky-high price, he only produces one every month. Zhang Jian said slowly. Zhang Jian, just say what you want to say. The head of the Zhang clan stared at Zhang Jian in contemplation. What I mean is that even though it has been so long, he's still fighting alone. If there's a powerful clan supporting him and sharing the burden on such a huge matter as the Wuxia steel, he would definitely have an easier time. And this is an opportunity for our Zhang clan. Zhang Jian said with a serious expression. He finally spoke his mind. No matter how he fights alone, he won't be able to match up to a powerful clan in the field of swordsmithing. He doesn't have any experience in this field, so he needs help in this aspect. Regardless of whether it's a swordsmith, an iron forge, or something else. These are all areas where we can work together. I believe that as long as we show sufficient sincerity, that Chong Gongzi will definitely agree to it. Zhang Jian's words left everyone stunned, unable to say a word. How could the matter regarding the Wuxia steel be that easy? Who would be willing to part with a business that involved several 100,000 gold taels? If it was them, they wouldn't do so either. But at this moment, they didn't have much of a choice. The clan's mine could be emptied at any moment, and news of it could spread out at any moment. In fact, it might have already spread out. Giving it a try was better than doing nothing at all. Zhang Jian, what do you need me to do? I need clan head to give me the authority to do things as I see fit. All right, I promise you. As long as it doesn't cross the line, you can do whatever you want without asking for my permission. The head of the Zhang clan said solemnly. This clan head? Zhang Jian was delighted. In the Wang family residence, Wang Chong sat in the study with a title deed placed on the table before him. Following Wang Chong's directions, Meng Long led his men to search through the ore veins one by one. At the same time, he excavated underground. After expending a huge amount of manpower, resources, and time, they finally found the large ore vein at the northwest corner of the spirit vein, roughly 20 li away. After spending a total of 80,000 gold taels, Wang Chong finally bought over the entire mountain range where the iron mine was located. On top of that, he obtained the title deed from the Court of Judicial Review and marked out the type of iron mine. Just like that, unknowingly, Wang Chong received yet another huge sum of wealth. However, amassing wealth wasn't Wang Chong's goal. Wang Chong didn't intend to use this massive iron mine to earn money. War was a huge consumption of both manpower and material resources. And in all wars, the consumption of war machinery could be considered as a crucial factor. And this massive iron mine in Wang Chong's plan was to be used to forge war machinery. In a war, in a situation where both sides were of equal strength, the side with superior equipment would be able to gain a huge advantage. The Arabs' Wuxia steel sabers and swords were sufficient proof of this problem. A man who calculates in his temple before the battle has to calculate more. A man who calculates less before the battle has to calculate less. Calculating more wins and calculating less loses. How can it be better to calculate nothing at all? This was the content of Sun Tzu's Art of War. A war had already begun long before it began. No one knew better than Wang Chong how many wars this world would face in the future. Regardless of whether it was the Hyderabad ores or the massive iron mine, to Wang Chong, everything was for the sake of war. Only by making preparations now would he be able to better deal with the calamity of the future, even though no one knew about it other than him. However, there was a very real problem. Even though he was sitting on a massive amount of wealth and the massive iron mine, Wang Chong didn't have the ability to develop it, let alone forge it into a massive amount of war machinery in a short period of time. Wang Chong was able to forge the jaw-dropping Wuxia steel saber, the Abyss of Death, which was worth 300,000 gold taels. However, the forging of war machinery required a massive scale and manpower. This wasn't something that Wang Chong specialized in. Perhaps I should look for those swordsmithing clans. Wang Chong thought. In the capital, there weren't any better swordsmithing clans than the Zhang, Cheng, Huang, and Lu clans. Regardless of whether it was the scale, manpower, or resources, they weren't something that a lone individual like Wang Chong could match up to. Young master, the Zhang clan's Zhang Tsong and Zhang Jian request to meet you. Just as Zhang Xian was deep in thought, a voice suddenly sounded in his ears. Turning around, Shen Hai walked in respectfully with his head lowered. Ah, great. Speak of the devil and he appears. Bring them in. Wang Chang's eyes lit up and he abruptly stood up from his seat. Wang Chong met Zhang Tsong and Zhang Jian in his lounge. After several months, Wang Chong hadn't changed at all. However, before Wang Chong, Zhang Tsong and Zhang Jian started to feel a little restrained. Time had passed and people had changed. At this moment, it wasn't Wang Chong who needed them anymore. Instead, it was they who needed Wang Chong. Wang Gongzi, we are here for the Hyderabad ores. May I know if Wang Gongzi is willing to cooperate with us? Zhang Jian thought for a moment and decided to get straight to the point, directly stating his purpose for coming here. In Zhang Jian's mind, this trip was fraught with difficulties, and there was a high chance that Wang Chong would reject his offer. However, the truth was something that Zhang Tsong and Zhang Jian couldn't comprehend. Sure. Wang Chong's reply was just 2 words. But it was these 2 words that caused the 2 of them to shiver. The huge living room suddenly fell into a dead silence. Sure. Zhang Jian was bewildered. The huge shock left him unable to react. Sure. Wang Chong indifferently said, repeating his own words. Sure. Zhang Tsong was stunned as well. He couldn't believe his ears. This time, they were shouldering a huge mission, and the glory of the Zhang clan was at stake. In the depths of their hearts, they had already prepared themselves for failure. Yet Wang Chong's reply was so simple, sure. If they hadn't heard it with their own ears, they wouldn't have dared to believe it. Zhang Tsong and Zhang Jian stared at one another, and they could see the shock and joy in the other's eyes. Happiness came so quickly that they were caught off guard. This. Zhang Jian took in a deep breath and calmed himself down. Wuxia steel was a huge business opportunity, and no one would agree to it easily. Zhang Jian knew that there was a condition behind Wang Chong's words. Then what is Gongzi's condition? Zhang Jian asked carefully. Wang Chong shot him a look of admiration. This wasn't the first time they were interacting, and it was indeed convenient to speak with an intelligent person. I want to invest in the Zhang clan. Wang Chong spoke of his intention. Invest? Zhang Tsong and Zhang Jian frowned as they stared at the young man before them doubtfully. Even though they had lived for more than half their lives, they had never heard of investing in the Zhang clan. What does that mean? Chapter 151. Simple, I will use a portion of the Hyderabad ores as the price to join the Zhang clan. The Zhang clan will be able to obtain the Hyderabad ores from me, and I will become the new owner of the Zhang clan. Wang Chong raised a finger and said confidently, That's impossible. The duo exclaimed in shock. They were stunned by Wang Chong's words. Don't be in a hurry to reject me. I'm not intending to take over your Zhang clan. Your clan head will still wield most of the authority, and the Zhang clan will still bear the surname Zhang. However, he will have to relinquish a portion of his authority to me. In other words, your Zhang family has changed from 1 patriarch to 2 patriarchs, 1 big and 1 small. Wang Chong said calmly. But even so, it's impossible. This is already beyond our bottom line. Zhang Jian and Zhang Tsong's chests rose and fell rapidly. No one could have expected that Wang Chong would be interested in the Zhang clan's assets. Is that so? Wang Chong chuckled and glanced at the duo. I believe you should be aware of the current situation of the Wuxia steel. The profits involved are unimaginable. The price of a single piece of Wuxia steel is equivalent to 70 or even 100 of your treasured swords. As long as you can get 10 pieces from me, it will be equivalent to 1,000 treasured swords. 365 days in a day. Can your Zhang clan produce a treasured sword every 3 days? Zhang Tsong and Zhang Jian were stunned. Indeed, Wang Chong was walking on the path of the high end. The profits generated by his Wuxia steel was something that the Zhang, Huang, Cheng, and Lu clans couldn't hope to match. The annual profits of the Zhang clan probably couldn't even match up to a few of his weapons. If they were to accept Wang Chong's proposal, in terms of profits, the Zhang clan might not suffer as much as they had imagined. In fact, to a certain extent, the Zhang clan might even benefit from it. However, exchanging wealth for authority as the clan head was still unacceptable. No, Chonggongzi, your proposal is too much for us to accept. Zhang Jian said solemnly. Even if the iron mine is about to run out, Is it still hard to accept? Wang Chong took a sip of the fragrant tea on the table and said casually, "Rumble." Wang Chong's voice was neither loud nor soft, but when it entered their ears, it was like a clap of thunder that struck them, causing their faces to turn pale, their bodies to tremble, and their bodies to be incomparably cold. The two of them stared at Wang Chong in horror, as though they had seen a ghost. It was as if the deepest secret in one's heart had been exposed. Chong Gongzi, Zhang Tsong's lips quivered, and his eyes widened in disbelief. It hadn't been long since the news of the Zhang family's iron mine came out. Everyone had been ordered to keep it a secret. However, Wang Chong actually knew everything clearly. He, Zhang Tsong and Zhang Jian, if I'm not wrong, they are both Zhang Tsong and Zhang Jian. Your Zhang family hasn't discovered any new veins yet, right? If you can't secure a stable supply of iron, your Zhang clan's market share will soon be squeezed out. Of course, you can buy iron ores from the smaller clans to stall for time. However, as long as you do so, the other clans will follow suit. By then, you will be squeezed out even faster, and your decline will be even faster. Am I right on this point? Wang Chong put down his teacup and said impassively, "How do you know?" The faces of the two were ashen, and they couldn't maintain their composure anymore. This was the Zhang clan's Achilles heel, and no one knew better than them that what Wang Chong said was likely to happen. If they were to purchase a large amount of iron ores from the market, it would be equivalent to telling the other clans that there was a problem with their iron mine. This was the most crucial point. Thus, even though there was a problem with the iron mine, the Zhang clan didn't dare to make any moves in fear of arousing suspicion. Wang Chong smiled without replying. He was well aware of the Zhang clan's predicament. That was because what he said was what the Zhang clan would do in the future. If there were no accidents, the Zhang clan's decline was a foregone conclusion. If a swordsmithing clan didn't have any iron to forge, it would be equivalent to a river losing its source and a tree losing its roots. Wang Chong didn't think that he was taking advantage of the Zhang clan. On the contrary, he was saving the Zhang clan. I hope that you can consider it carefully. I believe that you are aware of the current situation of the Wuxia steel. The Zhang, Cheng, Lu, and Huang clans have been pestering us endlessly. If the Zhang clan can receive my help and obtain the Wuxia steel, their reputation will definitely surpass the Cheng, Lu, and Huang clans, and they will become the #1 swordsmithing clan. There are no free benefits in this world. Of course, I hope to benefit from the Wuxia steel. Ask yourselves honestly, what does the Zhang clan have that I'm interested in? Money? I don't think the Zhang clan earns as much as I do, right? You know that we don't have the authority to do so. Go back and discuss with your clan head. Come and look for me after you have made up your mind. Wang Chong said impassively. Even though the Wang clan hoped to enter the Zhang clan to strengthen their strength and achieve their plans, it was useless for them to do so. The only thing that Wang Chong was confident in was that the Zhang clan was indeed facing a crisis. The only reason why Wang Chong was confident in his plan was that the Zhang clan was indeed facing a crisis. Furthermore, it was an opportunity for them to resolve the crisis. Giving up a portion of the authority for him to enter the Zhang clan might seem a little embarrassing on the surface, but in reality, it wasn't something that the Zhang clan couldn't accept. On the contrary, they couldn't allow their interests to be harmed. Zhang Jian and Zhang Tsong left in the morning. In the afternoon, the head of the Zhang clan appeared before Wang Chong. Chong Gongzi, may I know what kind of authority you are intending to obtain by entering the Zhang clan? How much of the Wuxia steel are you willing to give to us? With a grim expression, the head of the Zhang clan went straight to the point. This was the first time Wang Chong was meeting the head of the Zhang clan. In his previous life, he had been a profligate scion, so he didn't have the qualifications to meet the head of a prestigious clan. Wang Chong carefully examined this future partner of his. The head of the Zhang clan was dressed in white, and he exuded a rather elegant air, yet he did not lose the bearing of a formidable figure. More importantly, his words and actions were clean and decisive. Wang Chong had just sent Zhang Tsong and Zhang Jian off in the morning, and in the afternoon he appeared before him. It was unacceptable for a prestigious clan with 100 years of heritage to give up control of it to a clan. If it were any other clan, even if they were to reluctantly consider the matter, they would have to hesitate for a very long time. Yet, the head of the Zhang clan was able to make a decision so quickly. This kind of judgment, decisiveness wasn't something an ordinary person could achieve. Just this point alone made Wang Chong feel that his decision wasn't wrong. Simple. The edges of Wang Chong's lips curled up, and a glint flashed across his eyes. For the first time, he revealed his youthful ambitions before the head of a prestigious clan. I want half of the weapons forged by the Zhang clan in the future. As for the other half, I will be the one to purchase it from the Zhang clan, and you can only sell it to me. If we are able to come to an agreement, I want the Zhang clan to be at my service for the next 30 years. 30 years later, the Zhang clan is free to decide on their own. In fact, I can even withdraw from the Zhang clan and return all authority to you. 30 years. The head of the Zhang clan was taken aback. He couldn't understand what Wang Chong wanted to do with so many metal products. Even though the Zhang clan couldn't forge weapons like Wuxia steel, other than that, the Zhang clan's output was definitely one of the top. Given the capability of the Zhang clan, 30 years of continuous production would surely bring them to an astonishing level. The head of the Zhang clan couldn't understand why Wang Chong wanted so many metal products. No problem. Even though he was perplexed, the head of the Zhang clan replied without any hesitation. Wang Chong's request was much more relaxed than he had imagined. Furthermore, for some reason, the head of the Zhang clan felt that the control of the Zhang clan wasn't what this young man was concerned about. His true goal seemed to be the metal products produced by the Zhang clan. The so-called shares was just a service. This gave the head of the Zhang clan a strange feeling that he couldn't describe. However, is that all? Are there no other conditions? The head of the Zhang clan asked doubtfully. He didn't believe that Wang Chong's goal would be so simple. If he gave too much and received too little, it would be hard to believe. It's indeed easy to talk to the head of the clan. Wang Chong laughed and didn't beat around the bush. Xianxia, bring it here. Under the doubtful gaze of the head of the Zhang clan, Xianxia walked over with a wooden box. Opening the box, there were many drawings at the bottom. The doubt in the head of the Zhang clan grew. Pick it up and take a look. Wang Chong extended his palm and made an inviting gesture. The head of the Zhang clan nodded as he carefully picked up the drawing at the very top. He could recognize this drawing. It was a drawing of a caltrip, but it was different from a traditional one. The caltrip in Wang Chong's drawing was long and sharp, as though it was an enhanced version of a caltrip. Just by looking at it, one would feel a chill down one's spine. He couldn't recognize the second drawing. It looked like a huge metal wall, but there were some strange edges at the four corners. The third drawing was different. There seemed to be some rivet-like objects on it. The fourth drawing was different from the third. There were many holes of various sizes on the metal wall. The fifth drawing was different from the fourth. Looking at the drawings one by one, the doubt in the head of the Zhang clan grew. As the head of a swordsmithing clan, he had seen all sorts of bizarre weapons and designs. However, other than the first drawing, he didn't recognize any of the drawings that Wang Chong had made. As for those strange objects that resembled a wall, the head of the Zhang clan had a feeling that they were part of some kind of huge machine. It seemed like Wang Chong had only broken them into parts. However, the head of the Zhang clan had no idea what kind of machine it was. However, there was one thing that he could be sure of. The objects in Wang Chong's drawings were definitely not pots, pans, and ladles. Needless to say, they weren't used for a duel. War machines. Chapter 152. If you are willing to cooperate, what I want is simple. For the next 30 years, the Zhang clan will help me construct the items on the blueprints. Everything must be constructed according to my requirements, to the highest standard. All of the metal castings must be inscribed with at least 10 layers of toughness, and they must meet the requirements. Wang Chong didn't know what the head of the Zhang clan was thinking about, or perhaps he didn't care. He stretched out his right index finger and lightly tapped on the table. His rhythmic tapping gave off a very confident and rhythmic feeling. Inscriptions of at least 10 layers? That's a frighteningly high cost. The head of the Zhang clan frowned. He almost thought that the Wang clan was going to revolt, but upon hearing the inscription of 10 layers, he knew that he was overthinking it. You don't have to worry about that. I will pay for all of the cost of inscriptions. Wang Chong said calmly. He lacked everything at the moment, but money wasn't one of them. Even though the cost of inscriptions was expensive, given his strength, it wasn't a problem. Then there's no problem. As for the inscriptions, it's not a problem for us to pay in advance. What about the Wuxia steel? The head of the Zhang clan said. After which, he turned to look at Wang Chong intently. This was what he cared about the most. Wang Chong could own a portion of the Zhang clan, and it wouldn't matter even if there wasn't a 30-year deadline. What the Zhang clan cared about the most was Wang Chong monopolizing the most mysterious and popular Wuxia steel in the entire Central Plains. Only those who were in the industry would know how high the status of this young man in front of them was. 300,000 gold taels for a single weapon. This had sent the entire circle into a frenzy. Right now, all of the weapon merchants viewed this young man as a god. If they could work for this young man, many of them would be willing to work for free. It was a pity that this young man was elusive, and not just anyone could enter the Wang clan. Otherwise, just by taking a stroll around the weapon market, this young man would know how influential he was in the circle. With this kind of influence, coupled with the reputation of Wuxia steel, if it could be combined with the Zhang family in the capital, the influence of the Zhang family in the capital would not be weakened, but would be even greater. Just like what Wang Chong had said, it was entirely possible for them to become the #1 swordsmithing family. This was the reason why he was here. It's very simple. I can sell Wuxia steel, Hyderabad or to you for 20,000 gold taels. As for how much you sell it for, that's your business. It has nothing to do with me. However, no matter how many june of ores you buy from me, your Wuxia steel cannot use my name. Secondly, you must listen to me on how many Wuxia steel weapons you sell every month. The number of weapons sold in a month could not exceed 4. As for whether it will change in the future, I will let you know when the time comes. Also, at this stage, Wuxia steel weapons can only be sold to the Imperial Guards. Wang Chong extended 2 fingers. That's too little. Can you increase it? The head of the Zhang family asked with a slight frown. Definitely not. Wang Chong chuckled. On the surface, it seemed as though he was easy to negotiate with, but the meaning behind his words was the complete opposite. The rarer an item is, the greater its value. If Wuxia steel weapons were all over the streets, do you think that they would still be able to sell for such a price? Of course, if a few unfilial descendants of the Zhang family were to appear in the future, it wouldn't be surprising if 1 or 2 Wuxia steel weapons were to be sold outside, right? Gongzi is wise. Don't worry, our Zhang family will strictly abide by our agreement with Gongzi. The head of the Zhang family complimented Wang Chong inwardly. He had completely understood Wang Chong's intentions. Just like what Wang Chong had said, the rarer an item was, the greater its value. If too many Wuxia steel weapons were to appear, they would not be able to sell for a high price. However, if 1 or 2 weapons were to appear in the black market, not only would it not affect the price of Wuxia steel, it would even further increase the market's thirst for Wuxia steel. In fact, there might even be situations where the black market was selling them at a higher price than the Imperial Army. Regardless of whether it was for the external or internal market, the profits of the Wuxia steel weapons would be maximized. In this aspect, the young man before him had already considered it thoroughly. In this aspect, even the heads of many prestigious clans might not be able to match up to him. There's one last thing that I believe Gongzi should know. We are out of ores. The head of the Zhang family said with a crafty glint in his eyes. The Zhang family's ores in the capital were almost empty. This was the biggest problem in their collaboration, as well as the Zhang family's weakness. The head of the Zhang family was worried that this would affect Wang Chong's opinion, so he intentionally left it till the end. Wang Chong laughed heartily as he stood up from behind the table. It was as though he had expected the head of the Zhang family to say this. This matter is even easier to resolve. I've already prepared the new large-scale ores for you. As Wang Chong spoke, he flicked his sleeves and placed the deed of the ores on the table. Looking at the deed before him, the head of the Zhang family looked at Wang Chong in astonishment for the first time. He couldn't have imagined that the greatest problem of the Zhang clan, A problem that concerned the rise and fall of the Zhang clan would have been resolved by Wang Chong. The head of the Zhang clan in the capital left with great shock. When he stepped out of the doorstep of the Wang clan and left with the deed in hand, he was still in a daze, unable to believe what he had just seen. It had been many years since he would allow himself to be swayed by external factors. But this time, holding the title deed, he really had a heavy feeling, as if he was in a dream. Young master, the profits of the Wuxia steel are huge. Why do you want to hand it over to the Zhang clan? Isn't it better to hold on to it for yourself? Unknowingly, Xianxia had walked to Wang Chong's side and whispered. In the Wang clan, Xianxia and Meng Long were one of the few who could speak to him in such a manner and even oppose Wang Chong. There were simply too many profits to be made from the Wuxia steel. From the very start, Xianxia felt that his side was suffering a huge loss. That's because this is the only way to maximize profits. Wang Chong said calmly. Even though the profits from designing the Wuxia steel weapons could be maximized, easily selling a single Death's Abyss for an astronomical price of 300,000 gold taels. To most people, this was something that they would never dare to imagine in their entire lives. However, it was too slow to produce a single sword every month. But Wang Chong couldn't possibly forge the swords himself. If he did so, he wouldn't be able to sell them for a high price. Thus, selling it to the Zhang clan became the best choice. This way, he would be able to differentiate the weapons he sold, and at the same time, he would be able to maximize his profits. With money, he would be able to move on to the next step of his plans. The Zhang clan's efficiency far exceeded Wang Chong's expectations. That title deed had a huge impact on the Zhang clan. On the very same night, Wang Chong came to a secret agreement with the Zhang clan. The Zhang clan would use 500,000 gold taels to obtain 50% of the mining rights to the mine. At the same time, they would use another 1 million gold taels to obtain the distribution rights to the Hyderabad ores from Wang Chong. Due to the huge sum of 1.5 million gold taels, the Zhang clan didn't have that much liquid assets. Thus, they would give the Zhang clan a 3-month buffer period, and within 2 to 3 years, they would have to pay off the debt in the form of gold or in other forms agreed upon by both parties. This matter hadn't been announced to the public yet. Other than Wang Chong and a few elders of the Zhang clan, no one else knew of the contents of the agreement. Time flew, and unknowingly, several days had passed. The bright moon hung high in the sky. In the dead of the night, everyone was in a deep slumber. In the east of the capital, roughly 100 zhang away from the Zhouji charcoal wine shop, a black silhouette could be seen amidst the shadows of the trees. His sleeves fluttered as though he was a gigantic bird, and he staggered along the roofs. Traitor! To think that I treated you as my own child, yet you dared to collude with outsiders, to betray me. Black smoke billowed from the figure's body, and he exuded an intense malevolent aura, making him look like a ferocious beast. Under the moonlight, if one were to take a closer look, one would realize that he was a black-haired elder with disheveled hair. His left hand was clutching his chest, and fresh blood was flowing out from between his fingers. However, the most disastrous thing was that a long sword on his back had pierced his palm from behind. The long sword had even pierced more than a foot into his palm. Traitor, I'll never let you off. I'll never let you off. The elder clenched his teeth, and a ferocious glint flashed across his eyes. Under the moonlight, his eyes were actually blood-red, as though a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Gagaga! In the big tree beside the house, the night birds were startled by the intense malevolent aura, and they all screeched and rushed up. In the courtyard nearby, the dogs were also startled awake, and they all began to bark uneasily. What's going on? Why are the dogs barking in the middle of the night? In the house below, the faint sound of a husband and wife getting up could be heard. The black-haired old man's legs went soft. Suddenly, with a kacha sound, he stepped on several tiles and fell down from the roof. He hit the wall, and then fell into the dark, dirty alley, and fainted. Blood kept flowing out of his body. As the blood flowed out, the old man's aura grew weaker and weaker. His jet-black hair also turned from black to white at a speed visible to the naked eye, from the roots to the ends of his hair. In the blink of an eye, the elder's black hair turned white, and he fell to the ground. His aura was weak and he did not move at all. Whoosh! Not long after the elder fainted, a few enormous auras suddenly appeared in the distance, like the mountains and the seas. These people were extremely fast, and their figures could not be seen at all. In the void, only a few blurry shadows could be seen. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In the blink of an eye, a few ghost-like figures appeared above the roof where the elder had fallen. The dogs felt danger, and suddenly, they started barking. Rustle! With a cold snort, one of the black figures turned his head to look, and a few dozen feet away, the black dogs immediately suffered heavy injuries. Blood flowed out of their eyes, ears, nose, and mouth, and they slowly lay on the ground, motionless. The old man can't have gone far. If we let him make a comeback, we will be the ones to die. Search carefully, we must find him no matter what. 3 figures stood on the roof, and their cold eyes were like the eyes of the Grim Reaper. They slowly scanned the surroundings, and wherever their eyes passed, even the void was slightly distorted. Not far away, the elder's figure quickly appeared in the eyes of the 3. However, in the next moment, when they saw the elder's white hair, the 3 quickly looked away. It's just an old beggar. There's no need to care about him. Let's go. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Chapter 153. Early in the morning, in the back garden of the Wang family residence, Wang Chong swallowed the consummation Tiger Bone Miner's cyclic pill, which he bought from Six-Fingered Zhang. Kacha. The crisp sound of bones cracking could be heard from within Wang Chong's body, and the acupoints all over Wang Chong's body emitted bursts of mist. The roars of a group of tigers could be heard in the air. Wang Chong had finally broken through to Tiger Bone 3 Dan. The effect of this minor rejuvenation pill is indeed much stronger than before. Wang Chong was pleasantly surprised. Compared to before, Wang Chong could clearly feel that his strength had increased by a lot. More importantly, after cultivating the Tiger Bone to level 3, he would have truly reached the realm of Tiger Bone perfection. His strength, endurance, stamina, and explosive power would all increase by a level compared to before. Boom! As Wang Chong's palm slashed down, a rock garden was blasted into powder by Wang Chong. The degree of destruction was even more severe than before, and the scene was even more spectacular. Thick billowing smoke lingered in the air. However, Wang Chong didn't feel much pain in his palm. This was because when he cultivated the Tiger Bone, his muscles, bones, and tendons had also been strengthened greatly, and his ability to resist pain and injuries had also increased greatly. Let's test my speed again. Wang Chong's eyes lit up, and he quickly swept his gaze across the surroundings. There were many trees in the Wang family's mansion, and as a result, many birds were attracted over. Some of the maids even fed them the leftover pastries in the mansion, which attracted more birds. Wang Chong's gaze swept across the surroundings, and soon he saw a white-headed one leaping on the top of a tree not far away. That's the one. A surge of energy flowed through his body, and Wang Chong smiled faintly. In the next instant, boom! The surrounding air blasted apart, and a faint tiger roar resounded in the air. Wang Chong was like a ferocious tiger descending the mountain as he dashed over. Chirp, chirp! Feeling the danger, the white-headed bird wanted to flap its wings and take off, but it was still too late. A slender, fair, but extremely powerful palm quickly closed over. However, it only touched him lightly before quickly letting go. Pu Lung Lung! Pulsatilla Wang was frightened. Pu Lengleng flew out from between Wang Chong's 5 fingers. Hee, my stamina consumption has indeed decreased by a lot. Wang Chong's chest slightly heaved up and down, looking at the Pulsatilla Wang flying away in the sky. The corner of his mouth revealed a trace of a satisfied smile. The last time he used this move, his stamina was almost exhausted. However, it was different this time. Although he still consumed less than a third of his stamina, it was not as much as last time. This was the difference between Tiger Bone and Panther Bone. Endurance, stamina, and primordial chi consumption were on completely different levels. Young Master! Young Master! Just as Wang Chong was immersed in joy, Meng Long suddenly rushed into the room while panting heavily. Young master, you've appeared. The person you spoke of has appeared. It's not far from Zhou's charcoal liquor. What? Hearing those words, Wang Chong's heart jolted and he immediately turned his head around. Meng Long stuttered, but his words were vague. Even so, Wang Chong was still able to deduce what was going on from his description. Following Wang Chong's instructions, the guards of the Wang clan set up an inescapable net around Zhou's charcoal liquor, as well as the routes where Zhou Wen once moved around. Following Wang Chong's instructions, these guards were only responsible for observation. If they discovered anything, they were to report it to Wang Chong immediately. Just that, after more than a dozen days had passed, no one had discovered anything. Until today, when an unknown old man suddenly appeared in the vicinity of Zhou's charcoal liquor. Meng Long and the others didn't know if this person was the one Wang Chong was looking for, but this was the only discovery they had made during this period of time. Is he the one you were talking about? Wang Chong stared at the figure several dozen zhang away. It was a white-haired old man dressed in black. He was lying on the ground, barely breathing. There were quite a few people passing by, but not a single one of them glanced at him, needless to say, offer him a helping hand. That's him. Our brothers checked yesterday, and there isn't this old man within a radius of a few li. No one has any impression of him. It was as if he had suddenly appeared overnight. Furthermore, he woke up once in the morning but he fainted once more. He seems to have been injured. I had one of my brothers pass by that area, and he smelled a faint stench of blood. However, the young master has instructed us not to act recklessly, so we didn't take a closer look. Meng Long squatted behind Wang Chong and said with a hushed voice. Wang Chong frowned and fell into deep thought. Wang Chong didn't know whether the unconscious old man on the ground was the evil emperor or not. There was simply too little information regarding that person. Even in his previous life, Zhou Wen was very secretive and didn't mention it too much. Thus, Wang Chong had no way of knowing what the evil emperor looked like, what unique traits he had, and what he liked to dress up like. Without any of these, how could Wang Chong determine which one was the evil emperor and which one wasn't? However, even though he couldn't confirm the other party's identity, there was one thing he could be sure of. The other party wasn't an ordinary person. At the very least, an ordinary old man wouldn't suffer any internal injuries. Let's go. He won't be able to last long in his current state. As Wang Chong spoke, he stood up and quickly walked toward the elder by the base of the wall. The other party's condition wasn't looking good. Even if the other party wasn't the evil emperor, Wang Chong couldn't just stand there and do nothing about it. This wasn't how he would act. Wait a moment, young master. Meng Long was taken aback. He hurriedly followed him. There were people walking to and fro on the street, but the old man was lying on the ground with his face facing the wall. It was as though he was isolated from the world. Wang Chong walked over and from afar he could already smell the scent of blood. This person's injuries are much more severe than what Meng Long and the others said. Wang Chong frowned. Even though the old man had tried his best to conceal it, based on his experience from his previous life, as well as his familiarity with sword wounds, Wang Chong could tell that the old man had been stabbed in the back with a single glance. Furthermore, it was at the back of his heart. This is the work of an acquaintance. Otherwise, the stab wouldn't have been so precise. A thought flashed across Wang Chong's mind as he stared at the unconscious old man. If a person was facing a strong opponent, even if they couldn't dodge, they would at least attempt to dodge. It was impossible for the stab to be so accurate. Such a situation would only occur if it was done by an acquaintance. I wonder where this person came from. This isn't something an ordinary person can endure. Wang Chong thought. There were quite a number of mercenary bases in the vicinity, and Wang Chong knew of at least 3 of them. The old man's breathing seemed to be in a mess, and he was extremely weak. Even Wang Chong wasn't able to determine his background. Get some food and water. Also, get a few men to bring him to the charity hall. Wang Chong instructed. As he spoke, he stretched his hand out to flip the old man over. Just as Wang Chong was about to flip the old man over, an abrupt change occurred. The white-haired old man, whose breathing was in a mess a moment ago, suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were incomparably cold, and a fearsome killing intent could be felt emanating from them. This is bad. Wang Chang's heart skipped a beat, and a strong premonition of danger welled up in his heart. He immediately exerted strength in his squatting body, intending to retreat away from the old man. But before Wang Chong could retreat, a withered but powerful palm grabbed onto Wang Chang's wrist. "Who in the world are you?" The old man's expression was cold, and his voice was stern. Wang Chong felt his wrist go numb, and all of his strength dissipated. Before the old man, he was unable to exert any strength at all. Horrified, Wang Chong stared at the old man before him. His entire body went limp, and he couldn't even speak a word. This sight was completely out of his expectations. The old man's aura was weak, and he should have been able to defeat him easily. Yet, despite having just advanced to Origin Energy Tier 7, he was completely powerless before the other party. He had no idea what kind of technique the old man used to grab his wrist, but he was actually unable to exert the slightest bit of his strength and origin energy. Clang. The instant Wang Chong was grabbed by the old man, the sound of metal clashing echoed in the surroundings. "Release my young master." "Old fogey, what are you trying to do? Hurry up and release the young master. Otherwise, don't blame us for getting nasty." Meng Long unsheathed his saber and led his guards to surround the old man. His face was incomparably steely. To think that they were still thinking of saving this old man a moment ago. Yet, in the blink of an eye, this old fellow actually laid his hands on their young master. Meng Long was shocked and infuriated. If he could, he would have sliced the old man into two. The crowd exclaimed in shock. This sudden sight left the passers-by dumbfounded. As though avoiding a plague, they hurriedly moved away. "If any of you dare to come over, prepare to collect your young master's corpse." Savagery flashed across the old man's face, and he tightened his grip. Wang Chong groaned in pain, and cold sweat trickled down his forehead. "What are you doing?" Wang Chong cried out in pain. His voice was so soft that he didn't even have the strength to speak. "Young man, do you really think that I can't tell? Your men are all around here, and they have passed by at least 4 times. Do you think that you can fool my eyes? You must have been searching for something, right? Speak. Did that bastard send you here?" At the end of his words, the old man tightened his grip on Wang Chong, and a sinister and murderous aura burst forth from his eyes. In that instant, through the other party's eyes, Wang Chong could clearly sense the will of the other party. As long as he answered incorrectly, as long as he made the slightest mistake, the other party would kill him without any hesitation. Even if he was in the eyes of the crowd, even if he was in the capital. To this sort of person, killing another person was no different from killing another ant. It made no difference to him, and he had no qualms about it. This person is the evil emperor. Chapter 154. Wang Chong had been searching for the evil emperor and trying to confirm his identity. In the end, he finally found the evil emperor, but in a way that he did not expect. At this moment, Wang Chong was absolutely certain that this old man was the evil emperor that he had been searching for so long. The evil aura he exuded, the ruthlessness of treating human life like grass, and the so-called evil creature that he called his rebellious disciple. More importantly, there was no one who could subdue him so easily with a cultivation lower than his. Wang Chong did not even have time to react. The other party's experience, reaction speed, and awareness completely overwhelmed him. To be able to do this, the other party's cultivation had definitely reached a shocking level, even higher than his previous life. In Wang Chong's mind, the only one who could meet all these conditions was the mysterious, the evil emperor. However, while confirming the identity of the old man before him, Wang Chong also realized that he had unintentionally made a huge mistake. He had been searching for the evil emperor all this time, but he had neglected the fact that this person was a great demon who had killed people like scything flax. Finding this, the evil emperor, and obtaining the great yin-yang heaven creation art, from him was definitely not as easy as he had imagined. There was a great deal of danger involved. People change. Wang Chong was completely sure that the future the evil emperor would be a kind person. He would even give up his own cultivation and life to help another person. However, this change could not be achieved in one go. Right now, the evil emperor had just experienced betrayal. The hostility and evil in his heart, as well as his paranoid personality, would only increase, not decrease. He had bumped into him at his most unstable, most vicious, and most unfavorable time. What was more troublesome was that a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. Although he was injured and in dire straits, his wits, temperament, sharpness, and alertness were still there. In fact, he was far more powerful than he had imagined. He set up a trap at Zhouji charcoal wine shop in the east of the city to search for the evil emperor, but in the end, it backfired and he saw through it. This was something Wang Chong had never expected. Now, if he didn't have a good reason to convince him, what awaited him was a dead end. The best divine art is indeed not so easy to obtain. This was the only thought left in Wang Chong's mind. The more powerful the martial arts, the harder it was to obtain. Even if he had the advantage of being a prophet, it was still the same. Wang Chong had to admit that he had underestimated the power of the evil emperor. The surroundings were quiet and the atmosphere was extremely tense. The faces of Meng Long and the others, as well as Xianxia, who had just arrived, were steeled. Everyone had made up their minds that if the evil emperor dared to do anything to harm their young master, they would charge forward together and tear him to pieces. "Old man, you're mistaken. I didn't," Wang Chong said calmly with a pale face. Ever since his reincarnation, this was the first time he felt the danger of his life hanging by a thread. The immense pressure coming from the other party was like a sword of Damocles hanging above his head, ready to descend at any moment. The evil emperor would eventually turn over a new leaf, but that was a matter of the future. At least for now, he was still the evil emperor. Wang Chong knew that whether or not he could escape from the clutches of the evil emperor would depend on what he said next. Are you still feigning ignorance in front of me? Looks like you're tired of living." The evil emperor sneered coldly as a cold, killing intent emanated from the depths of his eyes. This lad still refuses to speak the truth. Does he really think that he can hide it from me? The evil emperor sneered coldly as he tightened his grip. Gotcha! A crisp sound echoed from within Wang Chong's body. Even his bones had been injured. "Stop! Audacious! Get away from young master." The crowd was shocked and infuriated. Their faces flushed red, and they wanted to make a move to deal with this old man together. Even so, Meng Long was infuriated. He was the one who informed Wang Chong of the news of this old man, and he was also the one who came here with Wang Chong. A moment ago, the crowd was still thinking of bringing him to Jizitong for treatment, but at the very next moment, something like this happened. "Old man, I think you're mistaken. I'm indeed looking for someone here, but the person I'm looking for isn't you." At this moment, Wang Chong had calmed down. The current evil emperor wasn't the benevolent evil emperor from the future. Instead, he was a vicious, cunning, suspicious, and treacherous evil demon. Wang Chong knew that he couldn't afford to let his luck get the better of him at this moment. "The people I'm looking for are the fishes from the pavilion of assassins. They once sent assassins to assassinate me, but I managed to get rid of them with the help of the Imperial Army. However, I've received news that there's a high chance that their men are hiding in the east of the city. You can easily find out about this if you ask around." Wang Chong replied calmly, pushing all the blame onto the pavilion of assassins. Wang Chong wasn't afraid that the evil emperor would see through him. Even though there were many people participating in this operation, most of them were ordered to look for suspicious individuals. Other than a few of his trusted aides, the others didn't know what was going on. Furthermore, I don't know who that bastard is. I'm from a clan of ministers and generals, so how can I possibly listen to the orders of others? As Wang Chong spoke, he took out a token of the Wang clan from his waist. It was a palm-sized bronze token with cloud patterns on it. In the center of the token was the emblem of a huge tiger head, and on the reverse was the emblem of the Wang clan. This was the token of the Jianxing clan of ministers and generals. This was Wang Chong's final resort. As expected, just a moment ago, the evil emperor was brimming with murderous intent, but in the next moment, when he saw the token of the Tang dynasty, the murderous intent in his eyes immediately dissipated by half. You're actually the son of the Wang clan. Before he could see what was going on, Wang Chang's grip loosened. Before he could see what was going on, the Wang clan's token in his hand had fallen into the hands of the evil emperor. Looking at the token, then at the young man in his hand, the evil emperor's eyes were filled with complex emotions. The imperial court and the sects were two different worlds. If the child before him was really the son of the Wang clan of ministers and generals, then naturally he wouldn't be in cahoots with that bastard. That kid didn't have the capability to order around the Tang dynasty's imperial court. However, whether it was true or not, he would have to test it out to know. Chi! A black shadow shot out from the evil emperor's hand. That black shadow moved as fast as lightning, drawing an arc in the air before flying back into his hand. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Shenhai, Menglong, and the others could clearly see that it was a copper coin. What are you doing? A guard stepped forward and bellowed. Then, the sound of cloth tearing could be heard. Dang dang dang. In the next moment, amidst exclamations of shock, a token fell from the waist of the guards. The evil emperor ignored the exclamations of the crowd. He reached out his hand and a token flew into the air, landing in his hand. I was right. Upon seeing the token on the guard's waist, the sharp eyes of the demonic emperor old man finally softened. Since these people were the guards of the Wang clan of ministers and generals, it was impossible for them to be here for him. Perhaps he had really misunderstood this matter. Wang Chong felt the pressure on his wrist lessening significantly and he heaved a sigh of relief. It was fortunate that no one knew about his ability to foresee the future. Even the evil emperor didn't know that even though he didn't know that traitorous disciple of his, he was indeed here for him. He had finally passed this test. Elder, you seem to be quite injured. Let me bring you to recuperate. Wang Chong corrected himself. Ha! Recuperate? Hearing Wang Chong's words, the evil emperor let out a sorrowful laugh. That traitorous disciple colluded with outsiders to destroy my sea of qi, injuring 7 of my meridians, 23 of my acupoints, and even severely injuring my conception and governing meridians. Right now, I don't even have 1/10 of my strength left. Moreover, it will become weaker and weaker. In less than 3 days, my power will completely dissipate. Unless I can obtain a Saint-tier recuperation pill, only then will I be able to preserve my foundation. It's a pity that only the royal family has such a pill. It isn't easy to obtain such a pill. But now it's too late. Traitorous disciple. Traitorous disciple. I will never let you off. The evil emperor's mind was in turmoil. At the thought of his sorrow, he spurted a mouthful of blood essence. He was already injured to begin with, and on top of that he had been fleeing for 1,000 li. As soon as he relaxed, all of his injuries flared up and he fainted. Kill him. Bastard. Protect the young master. Shenhai, Menglong, and the guards of the Wang family residence had been keeping a close eye on the situation. Upon seeing the evil emperor's injuries acting up, they charged forward and placed 12 swords on the neck of the evil emperor. Wait a moment. Wang Chong stopped the crowd in time. Young master, we can't let such a person live. We saved him out of goodwill, but he nearly harmed you instead. It's better to kill this kind of person. Menglong said furiously. The situation just a moment ago was dangerous. If something were to happen to him, he wouldn't know how he would explain it to the old master and madam. Don't worry, if he wanted to kill us, he would have done so long ago. Remember that copper coin? If it were to fly toward your neck, what would have happened? Wang Chong said. Upon hearing those words, the crowd felt a chill on their necks and they subconsciously took a step back. That's right. With this person's cultivation, if he really wanted to kill them, he would be able to kill them as easily as killing chickens with that copper coin, and it would be effortless. Wang Chong ignored the crowd behind him. Rubbing his numb wrists, Wang Chong turned his attention to the unconscious the evil emperor. It was clear that the evil emperor had really acted up this time, and his injuries weren't light either. It was likely that he wouldn't be able to retaliate. However, this wasn't what Wang Chong was concerned about. Weird, why are his injuries so severe? Wang Chong looked at the evil emperor on the ground in bewilderment. Based on what the demonic emperor old man had said, it would take at most 3 days for his energy to dissipate. If that was the case, how was he going to impart his cultivation to Zhou Wen in the future? How was he going to teach him martial arts? Wang Chong had a feeling that the evil emperor's injuries were much more severe than in his previous life. Wang Chong couldn't help but think of Zhou Wen. Could it be that by luring Zhou Wen away, he had changed the fate between Zhou Wen and the evil emperor, resulting in such a change? However, this wasn't the time to be thinking about this. The most pressing matter at hand was to save the evil emperor. Otherwise, the great yin-yang heaven creation art would truly become a lost art. Chapter 155. Shenhai, Menglong, quickly bring him to the carriage. Hurry up and send him to the charity hall. Wang Chong beckoned behind him. More and more people had gathered on the streets, but Wang Chong wasn't afraid of the crowd. But if the disciple of the evil emperor was still around, it wouldn't be a good thing. Wang Chong shot a glance at Shenhai, and the latter understood his intentions and started cursing. Damn old beggar, I wonder where he came from. How dare he be so rude to the young master? Carry him up and teach him a lesson before sending him to the mass grave outside the city. A few of the Wang family's guards understood his intentions and immediately carried the evil emperor onto Wang Chong's carriage. The surrounding crowd was initially curious, but upon hearing that the other party was just a beggar throwing a tantrum, they immediately turned bored and dispersed. Even though there were a few more observant ones who noticed the evil emperor's actions and felt that the matter wasn't as simple as it seemed, they couldn't hold back their emotions. Furthermore, there wasn't much at stake here, so they didn't probe too deeply into the matter. Soon, the carriage left the vicinity of Zhouji charcoal liquor. Silence reigned in the carriage. The evil emperor lay motionless on the blanket, his breathing weak. Wang Chong lowered his head to look at him with a complicated expression. The unattainable great yin-yang heaven creation art in his previous life actually allowed him to succeed. And now, the most mysterious evil emperor was lying just inches away from his feet. This was something he didn't dare to imagine in the past. But even so, Wang Chong knew that the entire operation wasn't a success. The apocalypse is coming, and a top-notch expert like the evil emperor is indispensable. No matter what, I have to find a way to cure him. Wang Chong muttered to himself as his heart thumped. In his previous life, the evil emperor imparted all of his cultivation to Zhou Wen. Zhou Wen also accepted his gift and became a top expert in a single leap. However, Wang Chong believed that if he wanted to master the great yin-yang heaven and earth creation and become a top-notch expert, he wouldn't necessarily need to sacrifice the evil emperor. The best way was to protect both of them at the same time. Even though the evil emperor had lost his martial arts, his experience, insight, and knowledge were still far beyond that of an ordinary person. The great yin-yang heaven creation art was an unparalleled art, and only in his hands could it display its greatest power. Furthermore, even though the evil emperor had killed countless people and had committed countless atrocities, he had almost died in his hands. However, people change. After experiencing this life and death crisis, the future the evil emperor would turn from evil to good, completely different from before. Just this alone was worth Wang Chong trying his best to save him. Not only did he have to save him, but he also had to find a way to protect his foundation. As these thoughts flashed through his mind, Wang Chong quickly came to his senses. A saint-grade healing pill? I wonder if this pill will work? With a thought, Wang Chong quickly took out a large healing pill from his robes. This pill was bought for him by Liu Zhizhang. Even though he didn't know if it was a saint-grade healing pill, it was undeniably from the palace. Forget it, I'll treat a dead horse like a live one. Even though I don't know if it's a saint-grade healing pill, at the very least, it's much better than the healing pills I can buy outside. With this thought in mind, Wang Chong squatted down, parted the lower jaw of the evil emperor, and stuffed a round healing pill into his mouth. The pill refined by the palace's alchemist melted as soon as it entered his mouth. In just a few moments, The entire pill melted into a liquid and flowed into the evil emperor's stomach. After a few breaths, a rosy hue surfaced on the evil emperor's face. His skin was originally pale and ashen, but at this moment, a tinge of redness could be seen on it. His originally indistinct and disorderly breathing also became thick and stable. Luckily, the 200,000 gold taels weren't spent in vain. Wang Chong bent down and stretched out his hand to feel the evil emperor's pulse. He heaved a sigh of relief. Back then, in order to join the so-called Dark Shadow and the Alchemist's alliance, he had spent more than 200,000 gold taels to buy the route. Now, it was all worth it. These healing pills refined by the palace's alchemist were far more effective than Wang Chong had imagined. If not for these pills, the evil emperor's cultivation might really have dissipated. Xianxia, go to the Falling Jade Pavilion and look for Liu Zhizhang. Tell him that no matter what, he has to get me 3 of these healing pills. Otherwise, he can use my quota for this month as well. The stronger the effect, the better. Yes, Gongzi. Without another word, Xianxia turned around, pushed open the carriage door, and jumped out. His feet didn't even touch the ground as he sprinted towards the Falling Jade Pavilion. Wait a moment. After Xianxia left, Wang Chong pondered for a moment before changing his mind. I'm not going to the charity hall, I'm going to the Purple Bamboo Garden. The Purple Bamboo Garden was a secret residence that Uncle Li Lin bought for Wang Chong. It had been a long time since he bought it, but Wang Chong felt that it wasn't appropriate for him to move out at such a young age, so he didn't move in. The evil emperor was severely injured and needed peace and quiet to recuperate. The Purple Bamboo Garden was quiet and secluded, making it the most suitable place for him. The carriage made a turn and headed towards the south of the city. It didn't take long before he saw a quiet courtyard surrounded by a lush bamboo forest. It looked especially elegant and stylish. At the entrance of the courtyard, there was a plaque hanging on the wall that said, Purple Bamboo Garden. The carriage passed by and soon entered the courtyard. The Purple Bamboo Garden was huge, and everything was ready for use. Gardens, ponds, terraces, pavilions, cultivation grounds, side rooms. Every single part of the place gave off a grand feeling. However, there was no one in the courtyard. There weren't any maids, servants, or guards around. Wang Chong hadn't moved in yet, so there wasn't a single person around. Stand guard at the entrance while the rest of you stand guard in the courtyard. No one is to approach. Wang Chong commanded. Yes, Gongzi. The crowd responded and left. Wang Chong placed the evil emperor on the bed. About an hour later, Xianxia's forehead was beaded with sweat. Fulfilling his mission, he rushed over with 3 larger healing pills. Liu Zhizhang was indeed loyal. When he heard that it was Wang Chong who wanted it, he quickly brought 3 stronger healing pills over and gave them to Wang Chong in advance. He didn't even take the money. Another 3 top-notch healing pills from the palace were fed to the evil emperor. The evil emperor's breathing improved significantly, and the wound on his back started to scab. About 4 hours later, 5 strong fingers suddenly shot out from the bed and grabbed Wang Chong's neck. Let go! Let go! The room was in chaos. Seeing the unconscious evil emperor suddenly make a move, everyone was shocked and drew their swords. The atmosphere returned to the tense atmosphere of the street from before. Put down your swords. He's just reacting, Wang Chong indifferently said, his expression unperturbed. It was like the demonic emperor old man was not grabbing his neck. This evil emperor seems to be on guard, Wang Chong thought to himself. He was probably the only one in the room who knew that this was just the evil emperor's instinctive reaction. The stronger a person was, the more cautious they would be. The moment someone approached them, they would immediately retaliate. He was like that in his previous life, and a devil like the evil emperor was even more so. Kid, you're the one who saved me? On the bed, the evil emperor finally regained his senses and slowly released his fingers. The scenery in front of him was unfamiliar and he wasn't sure where he was. But he recognized this kid. He was the young man who tried to save him on the street. Wang Chong smiled and didn't deny it. The room was silent. The evil emperor sat up on the bed and looked around. He quickly recognized that he was in one of the rooms. Is this your house? the evil emperor asked. Wang Chong smiled and shook his head. What a joke. Before confirming that the evil emperor had turned over a new leaf, he wouldn't dare to bring a devil like the evil emperor into his house. The demonic emperor old man closed his eyes, a look of recollection on his face, but he quickly realized a shocking fact. You healed my injuries? You actually have the royal family's Saint-grade healing medicine? The demonic emperor old man was astonished. Although his reaction was slow, he quickly noticed it. After he woke up this time, the injuries in his body had actually healed by 70 to 80%. This time, he had expected that he would lose his cultivation. But now, the yuan qi in his body had stopped flowing and stabilized. This meant that his cultivation did not dissipate completely. Instead, a bit of his foundation was left. Senior, have you forgotten? I told you that I am the descendant of a general and a minister. Of course, I have the royal family's healing medicine. Wang Chong sat by the bed. His expression was calm, but there was a hint of slyness. The evil emperor was taken aback. Then he realized that Wang Chong did say that. The royal family's Saint-grade healing medicine was precious and hard to come by in the outside world. But as the descendant of a general and minister, it might not be that difficult. This is the will of the heavens. To think that I would be saved by a noble's son. Perhaps, this is the arrangement that the heavens have made for me. The evil emperor smiled bitterly. He looked up at the ceiling. His expression changed and he didn't speak for a long time. Kid, are you willing to be my last disciple? As long as you agree to be my disciple, I will teach you everything I know. But in the future, I hope that you can promise me one thing. Hearing this, Wang Chong's heart thumped. No matter how slow he was, he understood what was going on when he heard these words. The thing that he had been waiting for the most had finally arrived. After the evil emperor was betrayed and plotted against, he felt that he wasn't strong enough to exact his revenge. Thus, he decided to take in his last disciple to deal with that traitor. The great yin-yang heaven creation art, this unparalleled technique, was finally showing a glimmer of hope to him. A great opportunity was beckoning to him. I'm willing. Wang Chong was overjoyed. Without hesitation, he knelt in front of the evil emperor. You saved my life. I will take you in as my disciple. This is the opportunity that we are destined to meet. I, Zhang Wenfu, swear that I will never take in anyone from the pugilistic world or the sects as my disciples. But you are not one of them. What name did you say? Wang Chong. Good. Wang Chong, you are my, Zhang Wenfu's, last disciple. As long as you don't betray me, I will never betray you. Master. Wang Chong hurriedly called out. I, Zhang Wenfu, finally have another disciple. The evil emperor roared with laughter. He had thought that he would die for sure. Who would have thought that there would be a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel? Right now, he was filled with hatred for those from the sections. Even if he were to die, he would never take in anyone from the sects as his disciple. But Wang Chong was different. He was a descendant of ministers and a member of the imperial court. He had nothing to do with the sections. In this life, he had never taken in a disciple from a noble family. But this matter was definitely worth a try. In the room, as he looked at the evil emperor, who was laughing without the slightest hint of scheming or defense, Wang Chong suddenly felt as if he had discovered another side of the evil emperor's personality. At this moment, a smile appeared on Wang Chong's face. Welcome to Legends of Cultivation audiobooks, where we bring ancient fantasy to life through storytelling. Follow the rise of heroes who defy fate, unlock mystical powers, and battle across celestial realms. Our audiobooks are crafted for fans of Chinese cultivation novels, filled with battles, breakthroughs, and legendary artifacts. Subscribe and be part of an unforgettable journey into the realm of immortality.